Alright, so I'm just going to try and make this as raw as possible. If you've never seen me before, pleased to meet you. My name is Sander. I am a multi-millionaire entrepreneur at the age of 22. Now those are two words that can be considered annoying, entrepreneur and multi-millionaire. I can cringe at them myself, and they're in one sentence, so that's just great. But that's the reality. Just for fun, today I've made so far $6,350 in profit. Yesterday I made in profit $14,295, and yeah, the day is still pretty early here. I mean, it's only 4 p.m. roughly. We're actually ahead of the curve compared to yesterday, so this will probably end up being another 15 to 25k profit day. All right, so I wrapped up that video 2 minutes ago. Started recording at around 4 p.m. Ran for about 30 minutes. It's now 4:30 p.m. As I said at the beginning of the video, by the time recording, or by the time we started the video, we had made around 6.23k so far today and 14.3k yesterday. I've just zoomed in here on the Stripe dashboard so you can see all the other data, but you can see 30 minutes later we're now at 8.3k for today. Yesterday you can see the 14.3, and actually, by the way, this account is like 6 hours behind. Around 6 hours behind. It's in a different time zone, but yeah, you can see we made 2k since we started the recording. We're actually far ahead of the curve compared to yesterday, so it's probably gonna end up like a 20-30k day. We'll see. That's quite a lot of money, especially if you're not used to those numbers. For some Saudi billionaire oil family, I'm sure that's like a drop in the water. It's nothing. But for a lot of us, especially those of you who are just starting out, and if I had seen those numbers when I was starting out, that would be quite significant. It's with that kind of money, you can live a pretty nice life. But regardless, I don't even say these things to brag. It's just to lay a little bit of a foundation. This is not even a how to get rich video. But I hope that this video can give you some really valuable perspective on life and something that will help you move forward in a better, more valuable, and more efficient way. I actually recorded another raw video like this, completely raw, a couple days ago, and uploaded it spontaneously. It was not even planned, and it blew up and got the best feedback ever. People said they really enjoyed the format and that it had given them a lot of perspective to move forward with. So I'm hoping that I can provide at least as much, if not even more value in this video. So the format I want to sort of do for this video is I write a lot of reflections. I've been writing down all my thoughts and reflections for 7-8 years now. And I always try to come to some level of conclusion in my reflections, even though that's not always easy. But I have had so many valuable reflections that I've never really shared with the public, and I want to do that. So the format for this video is I'm going to read you a couple of the questions that I think most of us, or a lot of us, are asking ourselves on a daily basis. Really fundamental, deep life questions. Then I'm going to read you a short text with some of my reflections on the overarching topic. And then I'm actually going to attempt to answer these deep questions in front of you. Okay, so without further ado, let's just get into it. Okay, what are some of the deep questions that almost all of us ask ourselves on a daily basis? Number one, what's the meaning of life? Number two, can we all live together in harmony despite our cultural differences? Number three, where do I fit into the puzzle and what value can I create? And number four is one I just added right before recording, is kind of a funny one, but should I attempt to get rich? I think it's a relevant question. A lot of you who are, considering getting started or just getting started, and you haven't made it, quote unquote, yet, you might be wondering, is it a worthy pursuit trying to get rich? Does money make you happy, or does it make you fulfilled? I'm going to answer all of these questions in a second after I've just read this short reflection out loud to you. Okay, my mouth is a bit dry, sorry for that. All right, so here we go. Life is the most competitive game you can wake up, log into, and play. There are a whole lot of players, characters, and realms. For a long time, regular patches are released and winning strategies change. For a long time, exploitation has been an efficient strategy for attaining power, and in many ways it still is. And while winning does not justify evil behavior, it should also remove any shroud of mystery surrounding the question of why some people choose to pursue destructive or evil paths in life. That being said, attaining status, wealth, and success through destructive purposes or destructive work has and never will be a fulfilling pursuit. which I believe we've seen enough historical examples of very powerful people decline in absolute misery to prove. Take the son of Marcus Aurelius, for example, right? Born into power, born with all the privilege you could ever hope for, and that was just turned into absolute decadence and ultimately misery and decline of one of the greatest empires we've ever witnessed. Commodus. Regardless, there will be evil players for as long as contemporary technology enables them more than it disables them. While technology can empower those already at the top, it also inevitably pushes us towards value-driven success and growth. There will always be different levels of wealth and power amongst the members of a civilization, and that's fine, so long as we're moving towards a future wherein these disparities are primarily determined by your capacity to create value rather than your inherent status. Now back to this game of life. The internet is a monumental patch in this game that has reshaped our world rapidly. And while it's hard to fully grasp the landscape and what the future will look like, one thing's for sure, it's the biggest catalyst for enabling and decentralizing scalable value creation that we've seen in history. At civilization's core is education. Without it, we will inevitably regress. And so the question and idea of, well, what is the most efficient format for education has continuously evolved with history, right? What do we know? Is it university? Is it online education? Is it private homeschooling? There are many offers, there are many ideas of what the most efficient educational format may be. But we've yet to find an objectively correct answer to this question. There's much to discover and learn. However, one thing we can be sure of is this. When established formats of education exist through extended periods without adapting to contemporary technology and research, well, they're unlikely to provide the most efficient format. Should go without saying. Now, this does not mean that the creators of these old or antiquated educations have evil intentions when they created them. Quite the opposite. It simply means that attempting to retain antiquated teaching formats with slow bureaucracy isn't necessarily an act of benevolence either. The future of education is decentralized, user-generated, and globally accessible. And some people will choose to contribute to that with online courses. Some people will help create online courses. There are many ways to contribute to that. You don't even have to contribute to education as long as you're contributing to some sort of value creation. Regardless, all parties that are involved in creating value for one another and enabling the prospering of a diverse civilization, well, they'll benefit, right? And the more we see technology evolve, hopefully, the more you'll be able to accelerate your wealth in the less you'll be able to accelerate your wealth in unfair ways, right? Such as just inheriting a bunch of money. I'm not saying it's unfair to inherit a bunch of money, because I'm sure, well, there's a chance that whoever earned it for you, maybe it's your dad or your granddad, maybe he created value to earn that money. So it's not unfair that your family gets to keep that money, but unless you choose to do something valuable with it and not just live in debauchery, well, then I'm not going to respect you either, right? That's not to say you have to donate your money to charity. You do what you want with your money and with your wealth and with your riches. I'd go as far as to say, I'm sure if you really tried, you could come up with far more efficient ways of creating value with your capital than donate it to a charity. So I'm not saying give it all to the state and let them handle it. Far from it. Just create some value with it. Now, let's come back to these questions we started off. Well, what's the meaning of life? It's a really deep question, and I don't think there's anybody that can give you an objectively correct answer to this question. But the way I look at it is, well, we don't have the answers, so choose value creation. Now, why should you choose value creation? I can come up with, or I've heard plenty of good arguments that would attempt to shut down this argument. Why should we create value? We just have one life. Let's just spend our money and enjoy it and do crazy things, and one day we'll die, and that'll be at the end of it. All right, that's one argument for why you shouldn't really care about the impact you create. The way I see it is, I mean, some people believe God created us. Many people believe we evolved from monkeys, or we just evolved throughout millions and millions of years. I'm not going to choose a side. I'm not going to say which answer I think is more correct. But the only thing I can say is I don't feel like we have an objectively correct answer. And so the only thing I feel confident in believing in is that the universe has existed for longer than we can fathom, right? And you can go 2,000 years back to when we started counting our years. You can go 4, 6, or 8,000 years back to some of the great things the Egyptians did. You can go even further back than that. There are new archaeologists and researchers that are suggesting that we actually had modern civilizations tens of thousands of years before our history books tell us. You can believe what you want. The only thing I feel confident in saying is that we don't know the whole answer, and I don't feel like we have a correct understanding or representation of what has happened before us here on Earth or what has happened before us in the universe. The only thing I feel confident is believing that species, whether it be humans or animals, have evolved through millions and billions of years. And if we've been able to make it this far, just looking at where we were 2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago, looking at where we are now with our technology, if we've been able to evolve that much in 4, 5, 6,000 years or 10,000 years or 50,000 years, if you will, then imagine how far we could get in a million years if we manage to get that far without destroying ourselves, that is. But my point here is, I mean, go out in the nighttime and look up at the sky and see how many stars there are. Look at how many galaxies there are. We can't fathom the size of the universe. The only thing I am pretty sure in saying is that there's life, intelligent life on other planets out there. And because if we look at the size of the universe, I mean, in my opinion, it would be naive to think that we're the only planet with intelligent life. And so if the universe has existed for so many years, for such a long time, and we can agree that there is life on at least one other planet, well, then with the billions of galaxies and planets out there, well, if there's intelligent life on one other planet, it must mean that there's intelligent life on a billion other planets out there. And so again, if we've been able to make it this far in our technological evolution and accelerate it this fast just within the last couple of thousand years, well, imagine how far somebody out there must have gotten in a million years. Pretty far. So coming back to what's the meaning of life, we don't know, all right? And when we think about how big the universe is, it can make us feel really small. It can make us feel so insignificant, like we're nothing. And that may be true in the big picture, but if somebody has made it a million times further than us in some other planet, well, chances are, I mean, we're already building rockets that can take us to other planets. So imagine if somebody is a million years further in their technological development than we are. I think there's a pretty good chance that they have the technology required to observe us, right? So who's to say somebody's not in some format observing us or at least discovered us? And since they haven't said hi to us, at least not to my knowledge, chances are there's things we don't know, right? Or things that are being kept from us. And so we're humans. We live here together. And well, debauchery and just having fun can be fun, but it doesn't create anything. I believe in evolution. I believe in progress. And so fighting each other here on Earth amongst us human people, amongst our different cultures, religions, and ethnicities, I don't think that's a really productive pursuit. I think our pursuit should be to create a playground or a playing field, a game where we can all sort of work together to propel humanity further, so we can meet some of our peers out there in the universe. And it's getting very deep, and I'm not even saying it as a conspiracy. I'm just saying you can choose to be one of 3 people every day when you wake up. You can choose to be a person that creates destruction, right? Literally exploits other people, ruins other people's lives, and maybe even attains wealth and power through those destructive purposes. You can also, the second person you can choose to be when you wake up is just a shallow person or a person of shallow purpose. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. You're not creating destruction. You're probably not creating immense value either. And that's fine, because I've myself experienced, and I've seen many other people experience going from a rather shallow purpose, but through that shallow purpose and the pursuit of that, discovering a more profound purpose, which leads you to the third person you can wake up every day and be, and that's the that's the person who wakes up and decides to create value through a deeply profound purpose, right? And I think we should all attempt to choose and wake up to be person number 3 every day that creates value and purpose. And I think that's the meaning of life, because we don't have all the answers, and I can guarantee you that in our lifetime we won't have the answers, and in your grandchildren's lifetime we won't have the answers. We won't have the answers in 5,000 years. We won't have the answers in 500,000 years if we manage to live that long. The only thing we can aim to do is to search for the answers, and the only way to get to the answers is to continuously evolve, right? And not go into regression, right? So that leads me to, well, the second question, which is, can we all live together in harmony despite our cultural differences? That should be the end goal, in my opinion. We're having a lot of problems politically and globally right now with diverse range of races, if you will, and cultures and religions trying to live together, or perhaps trying not to live together, at least fighting each other, and it's not very productive. It's creating a lot of chaos, I'll put it as. But I'm going to take you back to this image of the universe, right? Just whether you believe it or not, try to imagine that there is some planet out there that has had intelligent life for far longer than we have. Imagine that that planet was at our technological stage of evolution 10,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago. What do you think are some of the things that they've achieved that we've yet to achieve? If they've come 1,000 times further in their technological evolution and in their ability to create value and prosper and progress, do you think they're spending most of their time discussing who's the superior race, or what's the superior religion, or what's the superior culture? I don't think so. I think the only way you can get that far in your technological evolution as a species is by uniting. Right? That's not to say it's easy at all, but just imagine that species out there, if they're out there. I don't think they've gotten that far by fighting each other and destroying each other's systems and infrastructures. Yeah, we're one human race, in my opinion, and of course we have many different cultural differences, and we even look different, but we must cooperate, or we must try to find a way to cooperate and create value, and that's how we're going to prosper together. Warfare is just uninteresting. To that, I will add one point, which might be more controversial, but I don't believe we should ever prioritize diversity over competency, right? I think we have a huge problem when we have complex infrastructures in a vast civilization, and those infrastructures are governed or enabled by systems that are dependent on other systems that are dependent on other systems, because those systems require competent people to manage them and to make sure that they're working. And so if we prioritize anything else than competency in our way of hiring people for those positions, for example, well, then it will inevitably, and we've already seen it in many examples, it will result in one system having a collapse or a mistake, and then that will lead to a cascading sort of range of events of many other systems collapsing as well, because they're all interdependent on each other or interlocked. And so I'm all for diversity, as I've just advocated for that. I believe we should try to prosper together, but I don't believe that the way to get there, I don't believe that the way to get to one harmonious, united civilization is by prioritizing diversity over competency. And so I think that's a problem that we've seen, particularly in the last couple of decades, in the big corporate workspace, for example. CEOs and people in big organizations and companies being forced by politicians and investors and those in power, being forced to prioritize diverse applicants over competent applicants. Right? You might have a range of 100 applicants, and 95 are really qualified, and then there's 5 that are not qualified, and one of those 5 comes from a minority background that the company will politically and image-wise benefit from hiring. Well, I mean, if you're from the US or if you're from America or even in the bureaucratic sort of high ups of the corporate European world, you know that these diverse applicants will be prioritized in every situation. And again, I'm advocating for diversity. I'm advocating for uniting and not fighting each other. I'm just saying I don't think the way to get there is by prioritizing diversity over competency, because that will lead our system into regress. Because if the systems that we've built up over the last couple of centuries through the Industrial Revolution and through our technological evolution, particularly in the last 50, 100, 150 last years, if those systems start to collapse and it creates sort of a domino effect, then the way of life that we've created in our advanced civilizations will not be possible. And so that will inevitably lead to us regressing instead of moving forward. So again, I'm all for diversity and promoting and creating a playing field where everybody can prosper. But it's not going to come by treating people unequally. And I think that's actually the sad byproduct of what has happened with woke movements and diversity movements, where now it's just opposite racism or opposite. It is not advocating for an equal or egalitarian sort of playing field. It's literally giving priority to some people now, just not the people that were giving priority before. And I don't say that to defend privileges created for some groups, privileges that have risen from the exploitation that their ancestors carried out. I don't think that's I'm not justifying anybody's action, but I also don't believe in revenge. I believe in looking at the status quo, looking around you at your contemporary people or your contemporaries, and thinking, how can we create the most value with what we have right now, right? So next question is, where do I fit into the puzzle? What value can what value can you create, right? I asked myself this question hundreds of times throughout my childhood, throughout my teenage years, and I finally feel like I have an answer right now, which is incredibly beautiful. I can't explain. I can't put into words how it feels. There are many ways to find purpose, but there are also many people that never find it. If you don't know where to start, well, then enabling and nurturing the competency of all members in a diverse civilization through better education is a pretty surefire way to find your purpose and to create value, right? You can find a million ways to create value, and it doesn't have to be through creating or enabling education, but education is really at the core of thriving civilization. My MacBook is about to die. No, 10% power, it's okay. Education is really at the core of a thriving civilization. And so if you have no idea where else to start, why not get into online education? If you have some valuable expertise you can share with people, create an online course about it. We can help you do that. If you don't have expertise to sell to people, well, then help the professionals that have the expertise create their courses. Study how to do that, which we can also help you with. This is not a sales video. This is just one way of finding your purpose if you don't currently feel like you have it. And it's the thing I'd recommend to my best friend, to my family member, to my cousin, to my uncle, anybody I speak to. If they're not making the money they want, if they're not creating the value they want, if they don't feel like they have their purpose, be a part of education. It's the most core essential aspect to a thriving civilization. And we're seeing the downfall of many established educational institutions and all prestigious universities right now. It's going bad for a lot of them, and that's what happens when systems, educational structures, for example, created by people a couple hundred years ago with good intentions, do not adapt to contemporary technology and advancements, but instead are sort of being kept alive by slow bureaucratic systems and processes. That's inefficient, and so it will lead to it's always going to change. The most efficient form of education has and always will be changing. Right now, it's moving again towards a more decentralized, user-created, and enabling format for education. That's what you can be a part of. That's what I'm a part of with my company, and it enables you to find purpose, to create impact, and to make a lot of money quite easily. But again, this is not a sales video or a business video. Check that if you want to. So the last question, the fun one, the bonus one, I have to finish this before my MacBook dies here, is should I attempt to get rich? If you haven't made big money yet, right? Like, again, I've made millions in profit now, and I said in my last video, I had my first $250,000 $250,000 profit month more than 2 years ago. So making lots of money is nothing new to me anymore. I've also lived a crazy lifestyle. I've done things that I'm not proud of, not that I'm ashamed of either, but just things that I could do with my money that just didn't bring me any satisfaction or fulfillment, like partying or experimenting with things, just crazy lifestyles. And that part of having money does not make you happy. No. So even if you go scrolling on TikTok, you'll see people being like, people say money doesn't make you happy. Sure, it looks like these rich people are pretty happy. You know what? The material things don't make you happy, but the freedom that the money gives you, that can make you happy, because it can give you the freedom that your mind needs to create value or to create circumstances that are nice for you. The problem with people that are not over the wealth threshold, or that are struggling to make ends meet, or that are working, waking up, showering their kids, making breakfast for their kids, then going to a job, picking their kids up from school, and then coming back home, doing the groceries, and then cooking, then cleaning, then putting the kids to bed. I mean, when you live that lifestyle, which, by the way, if that's you, if you're a single mom or single dad, or even a couple, but you're working hard for your children, all respect for you. I'm sure the only thing you're working towards is to create a better future for your children, and so that's a very honorable task and pursuit in and of itself. But the result of that lifestyle is it doesn't allow you a lot of space to reflect on how you can excel in life and push yourself outside of that very limiting bubble that such a packed lifestyle gives you. So the pursuit of getting rich is a worthy pursuit, as long as you're not getting there by creating destruction, right? Don't prioritize making money over anything. Prioritize making money. It's I mean, if we didn't have money, what would we do? We'd be barter trading with each other. I have a camera, you have a bottle of water, and we trade. I mean, money is if we don't talk about corrupt potential outcomes of a monetary current or of a currency and having that established. If we just talk about the essence of money, it's just a measure of how much value you're creating, right? Or how much difference you're creating, right? Again, you can create huge destructive differences and make lots of money, but again, that's what leads you to misery and an unhappy and unfulfilling life. But if you can pursue wealth and getting rich through value creation, then it's going to lead to happiness, because also the merits or the things that you're going to attain through that wealth, or that you're going to be able to buy, you'll actually be proud of, because you earned it in an honorable way. But I mean, if you're just born into a billionaire oil family, or if you exploit people to make your fortune, and then now you're sitting on a yacht spending that money, it's a very, very dark energy, and that's not a happy lifestyle. Even if the TikToks look glamorous, trust me, those people are really troubled in their head. I've met a lot of them. So it's not something you wish for, but sure, try to get rich, and your opportunities, if you come from nothing, are far, far bigger. Like your chance of getting rich today, if you come from nothing or you don't have the connections, they're 1,000 times bigger than they were just 300 years ago, right? If you're being oppressed or exploited 300 years ago, I mean, you didn't even have the money to buy the books to study the knowledge that would allow you to create something. Now you can literally get a smartphone for nothing, and you have all the knowledge and information in the world available at the tip of your fingers. So your chances of making and of finding a valuable way of getting rich is, the playing field is more open than it's ever been before. So yeah, I have 6% power, and it's actually recording through my MacBook. So I'm gonna have to end this thing off. Yeah, this was a little bit more of a slow speech than my last one. Perhaps a little more boring, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless, and that you took some value and perspective from it. Again, if you have expertise, you should turn it into an online course. You can make millions with that quite easily if you have the process and systems. We can teach you that. If you want to help professionals create education, you can also make a lot of money with that. And the best thing with whether you create your own online education or you help the professionals facilitate, manage, and scale their online education, either way you choose, you're creating value and you're getting wealthy in the process. So I mean, if you have no idea where to start and you're feeling lost, I'd say that's a pretty good way to start. It'll teach you so much about so many things. It'll teach you about business. It'll teach you about education. It'll teach you about whatever industry your clients are in, or it'll teach you about your students, it'll teach you about human connect, it will teach you about so many things, and it will give you meaning. And maybe that's going to be your meaning, or maybe that's going to be the thing that leads you to find your mission in life. We're not going to find our mission in life by dwelling. It's only going to come through doing things that leads to experiences, errors, optimizing, and then find, oh, there it is. Now you can combine all your different assets, and now you can create your truly unique purpose. But you got to start somewhere. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.